everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking a look. I know I'm about, a week and a half late on this, but I'm going to be talking about the Deathloop, the most recent gameplay trailer, probably the last gameplay trailer we'll see before release. It is slated to come out September 14th, so we're looking at 7 weeks, 7.5 weeks, something like that, until release. And yeah, I wanted to take a look at this game. If any of you have checked out my comprehensive immersive sim list series, I talk about something which I describe as Arcane Syndrome, wherein I see a game that Arcane releases. I might be excited, might not be excited. That really has nothing to do with it. The biggest problem with Arcane Syndrome is upon playing a Arcane game the first time, I find myself thinking, that was pretty fun, but no big deal. And then I put it away. And then maybe a year or 2 years later, come back to it, play it, experiment with different mechanics, try different play style, learn all the systems, maybe do like a new game plus so I don't have to worry about staying to a specific build and everything and all of a sudden the game just, wow, it's holy crap, this game's amazing. It happened to me with Dishonored, Dishonored 2, Death of the Outsider, Prey. So it's a pretty common thing that happens for me, and so I initially, when they first announced Deathloop, which was just a trailer, it was animated too. It wasn't even like a pre-rendered cutscene or anything. It was just like a weird animated trailer. I didn't care. And even their last gameplay thing that they released, I was like, we'll see. It could be cool. It could not be. But I gotta say, I'm getting a lot more excited for it now. So I'm just going to give my impressions of what we have in the trailer, talk about some concerns I have because it's a very different type of game, and we'll get into it.
Hello, Blackreed. The other visionaries and I officially request killing cults becomes your top priority.
I'm liking the art style a lot to this. I mean, it's very arcane, but I like it.
It's fun. I've been cutting short your meaningless rampages for some time. It's totally normal. Death is a typical physiological experience in this place.
I hate to break it to you, but there is nothing normal about this fucking island. Oh, shit! What?
Woo-hoo-hoo. You're gonna give me that attitude?
Same day, which means I already know what's going to happen. Am I supposed to do this every day for the rest of my life? Fuck that! I'm breaking this loop.
I'm Dinga, game director at Arcane Lyon, and I'm here to give you a special look at Deathloop. You are Colt. You're stuck in a time loop on the island of Black Reef where everybody wants you dead. To escape, you have to take out 8 targets known as the Visionaries before the day repeats. Also, one of your targets, Juliana, is in the business of hunting you down. Fail to kill the target or die, and the day starts over.
You gotta be kidding me.
But every loop is an opportunity. With every cycle, you will learn more about the Visionaries and the secrets of the island by exploring and observing. You will discover their habits and secrets, using that knowledge to progress through the story. Let's jump into a mission several hours into the game to see Colt take on the Visionary Alexis the Wolf Dorsey. At this point, you have already learned from a previous loop that Alexis plans to give a speech at his well-guarded masquerade party. Let's use that intel to identify Alexis and take him down.
I was just thinking.
I want to know what the fuck.
So, a little bit of a preface here. So I did some research into how the game is going to work out, and apparently, so there are, as they said, 8 different targets, and there are 4 different times of day, and there are 4 different sections of the city or the island, and so at the beginning of the loop, so at the beginning of each portion of your playthrough, you're going to select a time of day, and well, I mean it's sequential, so you don't select the time of day, but you start with the morning, afternoon, night, probably, or evening, and then probably night, and you select a different section of the city. There are four sections of the city, or the island, and you decide which one you want to go through. Now, there's no time limit once you pick a time of day and a area of the island to explore. Arcane didn't want you to feel like there was like any sort of extreme immediacy to what you're doing, or a time limit, or didn't want you to get stressed out. Obviously, in Arcane fashion, immersive sim fashion, they want you to be able to take your time to explore every nook and cranny, figure out all the different pathways through the level, and come up with a plan of attack to take out your targets and accomplish your objectives. But as soon as you leave that area of the city, it then advances to the next time of day, and you pick the next area that you want to go to. So that's how the game works in that respect. And this is a really interesting combination of gameplay elements. It is, as we'll see in a second here. Let's just get into the rest of it. Let's keep going.
Oh, you don't want that. You're looking for purpose.
I'm looking for the best.
Again, like most Arcane games, quick aside, the graphics aren't like, gonna blow your mind, but there is an aesthetic here that I really like. It's definitely got the old school or the tried and true sort of Arcane general artistry, because I think they use the same few concept artists and designers to make to just establish the aesthetic, but it's got this sort of like 1960s going into the 1970s going into the 1970s aesthetic, which I really like. And I don't know, it's just kind of otherworldly. I guess if I had to say it reminded me of anything, We Happy Few, but I'm already liking the overall look and feel of this game versus We Happy Few. Yeah, I kind of like it. It kind of is like sort of like 60s spoof spy thriller kind of thing going on, which is a little bit tired, but whatever. I like the look of it so far. So
Way out of this place.
There are rules, Colt, and sometimes people bend the rules, and sometimes they break them.
Blah, 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 blah.
Were you talking when I was talking?
Okay, what is it?
I do get a little cringy at some of these developers' attempts at humor and playful banter and stuff. I don't know. Do they all go to the same writing school that says X, Y, and Z are humorous lines? Please insert into video game script. It's just really cringy. It's like, they're trying too hard. And all these characters in these games, support characters, they're starting to feel the same, and the dialogue's starting to feel the same. So, and I don't think it was apparent in other Arcane games, because all the other Arcane games are extremely dour and serious, so you don't ever have to worry about that. This is more campy and fun. So right off the bat, we can see the first major gameplay influence is, I can't believe it's not Dishonored 3. You know what I mean? Like, this is... you have the blink ability, which was not a bad choice. I mean, it's probably one of Arcane's better contributions in terms of mechanics to gaming. For stealth games, it's just the blink ability. It's super nice. So, and obviously, the overhead takedowns and everything, they pretty much ported the scripting for a lot of Dishonored already into this, which is actually, I don't think it's a lazy thing. I think it's actually going to work out very well, because gamers that are very comfortable with those games are going to be able to kind of jump right into this one without a huge learning curve, and that's going to be very important. We'll discuss that in a second. Yeah, bomb placement and stuff like that already very Dishonored.
Everyone here in favor. By Indians.
So what happens when you break the loop? Seriously, I want your theory.
Everything goes back to normal, obviously.
Normal. You have absolutely no fucking idea what will happen.
True, but I know one way to find out.
Dying isn't the end. Reprise is one of the powers you can unlock. It allows you to die and rewind twice before the loop restarts. You have also seen Carnesis, that allows you to yank enemies around and shift the short-range teleport.
Hey, we killed you!
Okay, so what is the other major gameplay influence? So we had Dishonored. What's the next major gameplay influence? The next major gameplay influence is this is a roguelike, for sure. Death is permanent, and death restarts you at the very beginning of the game, which this is the one mechanic I'm the most concerned about, depending on how they implement it. I really don't like personally roguelikes. There are some I like, and the ones that I like are ones that are typically, they don't funnel you into, you know, it's I really hate roguelikes that require you to complete the same sequence of actions in the same way every time, because, you know, beyond any sort of RNG, there's also just, you know, sometimes you have a good run, sometimes you have a bad run, sometimes you'll die in the first level, second, third. But for, you know, players like that, it's just so much pressure. Once you start getting further through, you're just like, okay, one single mistake, and then if you die, you're already kind of stressed out and frustrated. You start it again, and then you die in the first level, because there's that, you know, I really hate that. I like to have a sense of progression in video games, and so I've never really been that into roguelikes. There are a few that I like. Sunless Sea works, you know why? Because you don't have to do the same things every time. You can go in a completely different direction. You're like, well, that Lovecraftian monstrosity ate me in the middle of the sea out there. I'm not going to go that way anymore. Let's go this way and see what's out there, you know. And there's a lot of, sometimes you have good and bad luck, but it, you know, and sometimes you're like, okay, this is going to be a crappy run, but maybe I can learn more about what's out here if I go this time. Same thing with FTL. I like FTL as well. And also, I feel like the games like FTL and Sunless Sea, they are those sort of exceptions for me where I'd feel like, okay, it really is about the journey, not the destination. I don't really care if I ever finish a campaign of FTL or finish a campaign of Sunless Sea necessarily. It's about the minute-to-minute experience and having fun with sort of the direness. FTL makes you kind of feel like you're a Starfleet captain. You're like, okay, we need to divert, you know, power from engines to life support. Oh, we need to patch that. Oh, there's borders. Let's send an anti-boarding party to go meet them at the airlock. It's kind of cool like that. That's more fun to me than like, oh, did I get to the end? I don't really care. Whereas this is a game that's clearly like, okay, I do want to actually finish it at some point, so I'm very concerned about this. But they did, they'll show this in a set. Well, let me go back here. Okay, so that you actually died right here. So you get killed. So you have up to 2 chances. So you have 2 lives essentially, where you can rewind time. One of the interesting things about this is any enemies that were killed before your death stay dead, because you're not actually rewinding time itself. You're just rewinding your particular timeline, or your actions or whatever. So you do have 2 chances to start over. So it's a little forgiving in that aspect. Also, there's stealth mechanics. Also, there's tons of abilities and stuff, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But there are only 2 opportunities, and there is no saving in the game. There's no quick saving whatsoever. That's another thing where I was like, ooh, I don't know. I think that the key to this game is going for Arcane is making sure that it never becomes frustrating. It should be about like experimenting and trying new things, but it should never be a frustrating slog. And it could very easily be with these gameplay mechanics. So it is one of the things that I'm sort of worried about going into it. So yeah, it's a roguelike. I have heard, so right before, as you approach your target in the map that you're in, you will get an autosave. So that's another thing that makes it like less kind of hardcore roguelike-y. You will get an autosave, and you should get an autosave right after you kill your target also. The one thing I'm not understanding is you have to kill all of your targets within a single day. So if you pull off, like this is evening in this part of the map, if you pull this off flawlessly, take out all your targets and you move on, but then you fuck up the next section, do you have to start the entire day over? That's not clear, so I'm not really sure how that works, or if you just keep restarting that part of the day over. They made it very clear in the trailer that if you die and you lose all your reprise, you start the day over from square one. So again, that could get very frustrating.
Cole, do you need my help?
No, I'm fine.
Keep getting yourself killed.
It looks like there's weapon jamming mechanics too, which anyone familiar with my channel will know I'm actually a huge fan of. Maybe not in a roguelike, but I do really like it.
Here's where cold die. You can absorb your body to regain residium, a resource that allows
Yeah, so unfortunately you can't recharge your rewind ability by absorbing your soul or whatever, but you do get, they called it this resource called, what is it called? Residium. and that allows you. So basically, this game is going to be one of those games that requires you to just die and start over, die and start over, die and start over, because that's how you upgrade your character. You get more Residium, and you can get more powers. You can keep more weapons at the start of your loop. So if you want a specific build or loadout, you're going to have to keep collecting Residium and dying and restarting to get them. So, and I'm honestly imagining it's going to be a little Metroidvania-esque, where certain areas might not even be accessible until you've unlocked certain abilities or weapons or powers. And so you're gonna, you might, like, for this playthrough, they kill one target, but I mean, there's 8 targets, 4 periods of day, 4 sections of the island, which means there's 2 targets per section, meaning that if you want to successfully complete this section, you have to take out a second target. And what that's going to mean is probably, like I said, you're going to be locked out of certain areas of this section of the island until you have the correct powers to either traversal, or you get a key, or you get a weapon that allows you to blow open holes in walls, or whatever. I don't know, but that's what I would imagine.
To save your favorite weapons and abilities between loops. Over time, you will build an arsenal of weapons, abilities, and upgrades that you can mix and match between missions to suit your playstyle or the needs of a specific task.
And as expected, you've got turrets here, you've got a hacking ability. That's not necessarily new for Arcane. At least this is hacking at a distance, much more like Prey. So yeah, it's kind of a combination of a lot of different mechanics that have been in the other games. And of course, I think that the overall loop mechanic is, they did Prey Moon Crash, which I still need to finish, actually. But they did Prey Moon Crash, and everyone really loved that. And I don't like roguelikes. I started it, and then I got distracted and busy with life, so I didn't get a chance to play it. But I am going to take some time, probably in the next few weeks, and take a crack at it just to see how Arcane implements roguelikes. I do remember in Moon Crash, it was forgiving enough so that it didn't become frustrating. At least that's what the mechanics, the description of the mechanics led me to believe. But we'll see how it works out. One thing I am concerned about is, very Dishonored, having to take a more cautious play style approach to the game because of the permadeath system. They're required to still talk about the PS5 stuff. That's another thing that I'm going to talk about. It's interesting. It's just no longer it's technically a Sony exclusive right now, but it's not a timed exclusive, and Microsoft now owns this IP. So.
Very impressive. I'm clapping with one hand.
Don't stop there. Put them both together. The body count is gonna get high.
I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. I like that these little sections of the island are like mini open worlds. They're kind of murder and destruction sandboxes. Obviously, they haven't shown the HUD yet. That's what I'm a little concerned about. I hope there's some sort of visibility meter or something so you can maintain stealth. I'm not expecting the stealth to be groundbreaking based on, compared to other Arcane games. The stealth in both Dishonored and Prey was very lacking in my opinion. It was functional enough to where if you learned all the mechanics, you could do all right with it. But I've said this before. I don't know why Arcane doesn't include a light gem. I think it's very dumb. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. This just looks like so much fun. I'm getting some vibes of Wolfenstein Youngblood too, which they worked on, because that was sections and quarters of a city cordoned off, and kind of on a high alert status all the time. And there was a very much more of a sort of free roam aspect to Youngblood as well. So this kind of reminds me of that a little bit too.
There's always multiple ways to approach a target, and we just learned of one. A back entrance to the mansion. Conversations like this happen all over Black Reef, and it often pays to stop and listen.
Nice. Nice. So, two things we're going to notice here. First of all, I'm very excited to see what gamers like Stealth Gamer BR are going to do with all these new mechanics. I mean, that's kind of his bread and butter, is arcane games, and I'm really excited. Although he hasn't done much Prey stuff, but I'm really excited to see what he does with this game. It just seems like right up his alley, and it's going to be some really awesome videos coming out from him. So the other third main gameplay influence that I can see that this, game is a sort of creating an amalgam of is Hitman. This is, Dishonored was supposed to do that. Dishonored was supposed to give you targets, and you had to figure out, interesting ways to take them out. But in my opinion, it never really lived up to that. It was never the Assassin's Creed or Hitman meets Thief title that it was supposed to be. This one is a lot different because it does have a little bit more open-ended structure. The targets feel less like they're part of specific missions and more that they're just, much like the new Hitman trilogy, they're just kind of placed in the map, and there's obstacles between you and them, and you just figure out a way to get to them. And you can kill them however you want. As long as they're dead, that's all that matters. And so there's definitely a much stronger Hitman influence for this game than in Dishonored. So that's going to be very interesting also.
That alert means your rival, Juliana, has invaded your game. Controlled by another player or the AI, she's the
So this is another I gotta hand it to Arcane. They're adding a lot of cool stuff. They've got your Groundhog Day sort of roguelike mechanic. They've got your sort of Hitman style gameplay and list of objectives meets the mechanistic gameplay of something like Dishonored, with all the powers and abilities and stuff like that. And of course it's a shooter too, so there's more of a focus on guns and weapons and stuff like that. And then they add a sort of PvP component, multiplayer component to this. Yes, you can have, so the other catch to this game is that while you are an assassin trying to take out all these targets on the island because you believe that will end your time loop, there is a rival assassin that is being sent after you to kill you. And I really like this concept. What I like most about the concept is, yes, you can have the AI of the game be your enemy, but for added challenge, you can actually have someone invade your game and play as the assassin and track you and kill you. So it's just a lot of great ideas. And again, I'm trying not to, I'm going to give Arcane the benefit of the doubt this time because I'm trying to avoid Arcane syndrome. It sounds like it could be a big mishmash of garbage that doesn't really work, but I don't believe so. I have really liked everything they worked on in the past, so I gotta say, this sounds really cool, and it's unique.
real deal. You'll have to be extra vigilant when she's on the hunt.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of silent weapons other than melee.
Wow. I didn't know you liked to party.
Ain't my style.
You're all business all the time, aren't you? What is your style exactly?
Chit-chatting when I should be killing motherfuckers, apparently.
Again, the graphics aren't groundbreaking, but they look, aesthetically they look very nice. But this certainly could have come out last generation.
The wolves play a sick game. Whoever fails to impress the others with their evil deeds goes into the grinder and onto the dinner menu. Let's see if we can rig the outcome.
The island doesn't look super big also. Another thing I'm concerned about is just the amount of content in this game. We don't know what the price point is going to be yet. I am a little concerned that because it is a roguelike, that if you, like, for example, if you know what you're doing and you know how to get from A to B and maybe you've got a few powers, you could probably finish the game in like 4 hours or so or less. And Arcane's excuse for that is going to be, well, it's a game that you're supposed to play over and over, and it's going to take you a while to get your character up to you know, all the abilities and stuff, and upgrade your character. And you know, maybe you're gonna want to go back through kind of like Hitman and try and take out targets in a different fashion. So they're gonna try and explain the game's length by, you know, sort of having the player kind of create their own experience and pad it out themselves by just experimenting with different things, which is sort of fine. But at least even Dishonored 2 was at like a 6 to 8 hour campaign, and maybe a little bit longer, you know. So and definitely if you're gonna really experiment and have fun and go nuts with Dishonored 2, it can easily turn into a 15-hour game. I don't know. I feel like the mission structure and general structure of Dishonored 2 works better for going back and playing levels over than something like this. So I'm a little concerned that the island's gonna actually turn out to be quite small. There is a lot of, obviously it's an arcane game, there's gonna be tons of depth with pretty much every building explorable and everything like that, but it could very easily be like a 4 or 5 hour campaign or shorter.
The Alexis, but it could also be another masked speaker. So let's hear him out and not take the shot. Arrogant, cruel, no regard for others. Yeah, that's definitely Alexis. And yup, Alexis just dropped an upgrade to the Carnes's power and a hefty dose of Residium. Time to get the hell out of here.
Really great weapons with all sorts of different abilities, area of effect stuff, poison gas, ignitable clouds. Just cool weapons also, like that lever action thing. I gotta say too, I'm loving this soundtrack. I got this sort of funk jazz thing going on. This is great.
Why wasn't I invited?
There's some weird frame rate issues and hitching though with the footage, and this game's supposed to come out in September, so I'm a little concerned about performance when it launches. It's weird that they would be having such frame rate issues. I mean, most stuff presented at E3 does, it's not always 60 frames a second and perfect, but still.
You gonna call me like this all the time, Julie?
Juliana.
I give approximately 0 fucks about what you call yourself.
But you did. Once.
Looks awesome. So about this September 14th release date, I did some digging on this too. So as you guys may or may not have known, Bethesda owns Arcane, and Bethesda was recently acquired by Microsoft, and so Microsoft now is in charge of Arcane, you know, the Dishonored series, Elder Scrolls, all of that stuff. And but this is a PlayStation exclusive because they signed the it was a timed exclusivity deal where I think the first 6 months or a year of this game's console release will be on PS5 only. And so that's kind of interesting because it's like, all right, Microsoft owns this IP now, right? And yet they can't put it out on the Xbox. Well, here's the interesting thing. The only thing that's stipulated is that it can't be on the Xbox for a year. But everything else Arcane has done, including Arx Fatalis, is on Game Pass right now. So I looked into this. This is most likely coming out day one PC for PC on Xbox Game Pass PC. It won't be coming out on the console, unfortunately, but it will be on PC for Game Pass owners, which is, holy crap. I mean, dude, Sony, man. Wow. They kind of, I feel like Sony sort of dropped the ball towards the end of the console, the last console generation, because man, that is a huge slap in the face to Sony. But I'm super excited because I was like, oh man, do I have to wait another year? Plus, you know, my finances are tied up in a lot of things right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to be in a position to totally just like, whatever, drop $60 on this. But I will be able to start playing this most likely day one and put content out and do a review and get to play it. So I'm super excited about that. Again, this isn't 100% confirmed yet, but I read maybe 4 or 5 different articles, and pretty much all of them, and as far as they can tell, there's no legal reason that this wouldn't be launching on Deathloop wouldn't be launching on Xbox Game Pass for PC. So that's going to be awesome. So I would recommend, I would recommend Game Pass to almost anybody. It's a fantastic, there's all sorts of great stuff on there right now, and I'm having an absolute blast playing with it. And if you haven't played the Dishonored series yet, it's on there. If you haven't played Prey, it's on there. All the Arcane stuff is on there for PC right now. So if you want to go play those and have a great time, it's on there. And I don't even have a newer Xbox console anyways, so it's cool for me because it's like, well, I wouldn't have been playing it on Xbox anyway. So I'm glad that the PC release date is confirmed to be September 14th. So it'll certainly be on Steam September 14th, and like I said, most likely on Game Pass. But yeah, I gotta say, I'm really liking this game. As soon as they showed gameplay, I was pretty much on board. Again, I have some reservations about the roguelike nature of it. Like I said, roguelikes are not my favorite thing, but I played a little bit of Moon Crash, and just knowing how Arcane are, they're not a very anti-player, anti-freedom sort of developer. So I can't imagine they would make this sort of roguelike permadeath feature extremely frustrating or annoying. I'm sure there's certain caveats, maybe there's a way to, like, if you complete a certain section of the day perfectly, maybe there's a, because there's lots of weird like time bending mechanics. Maybe there's a way to like save that so that it's like, okay, you can always keep that progress once you've done it. I think that the permadeath is more to discourage being killed by like random NPCs and being more careful and planning out your routes and approaches and bringing the right tools and stuff. I think it's more about that, but we'll see. I don't know. It could be extremely annoying and frustrating, or it could be totally fine. So I'm very excited about this, and Arcane, in my opinion, they just keep getting better and better. Yeah, maybe their narratives aren't always the most compelling thing ever, but the gameplay is solid. Ever since Dishonored 1, the gameplay for Arcane has just been solid. And I'll be covering more of their stuff on my channel too. I'll be doing a Dishonored series review, probably individual reviews of the game. And I've talked about Prey and Dishonored in my Immersive Sim list videos. I will probably link those somewhere on here so you guys can check those out. And again, even just the Arcane stuff is worth the price of admission for Game Pass right now. It's like $10 a month, so you can pick it up, play other stuff, get prepped for this game. Yeah, so anyways, let me guys know what you think about Deathloop in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions, anything that you think is really cool, any concerns you have about the game. And that's going to be about it for me. Thanks for watching.